Whoa, hello. Hey everyone, hello. Welcome. I hope you're well. I hate these games that stop playing the music when I alt tab. Come on. Come on. Oh, also it does capture it for some reason. That's weird. Come on. Come on. Where's the game? There's the game. Hey everyone, hello. Welcome. Welcome, I hope you're well. Welcome to the stream. Hey James, hello. Hey Hippa. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. I hope we're all doing well. It's nice to see you. Playing some Rogue Detective. Rogue Detective 2. I've not played this one. I played one. It's been a while since I played that. I could try recapping the plot of Rogue Detective 1, but I don't know if I could. But I'll try. I think I do. I don't know if it's very important for this game. To tell you the truth. It's not one of those games. Yum. I'm trying this new cheap coffee. It's not bad. It was like quarter the price of like the other coffee. All the coffee brands are so expensive. So I was like, I guess I'll grab the cheapy store brand, very cheapo. And then, you know, it's coffee. It's still coffee. Turns out I'm not very snobby, particularly about coffee. That's great. Nice to get more video games for the PC. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. So, it's Frog Detective. It's like a little adventure game. Give it a try. It's not like Monkey Island or anything. It's really chill, but that's kind of the charm of it. I think in Frog Detective 1, there was like a mysterious haunted island. That was like the plot, and we were sent there to like detect some sort of ghost-related crime. And turns out there was just someone in like a cave the whole time making echo noises, stuff like that. So that's the mood we're going in this game with. I mean, the case of the invisible wizard does sound like it could be another ghost crime. Maybe the wizard is not actually invisible. Maybe it's invincible. That could be the trick of this one. Wordplay, very clever. So we perhaps just get cracking then. Give it a try. It's not like we can fiddle around with options or anything. Look at the extras. You kind of just have to start playing the game here. How are the settings? Does it sound good? Like the music compared to me? I think that's gonna be the main sound of this game. It's not like there's any voice acting or anything in this. So if the music sounds good, we're good, I think. Sounds good so far? Excellent. Very nice. Curd coffee is 350 grams bag every 2 weeks for 14 pounds? Is that expensive? I don't know. Hang on. I wish I had like a scene for my stream right now, which is just the woman doing maths. You know the one, the gif of the woman doing maths. So that's how I feel right now, because I have no idea of like what coffee costs. I feel like that sounds expensive. Alright, let's go. Oh, looking dapper. Oh, yeah, this is familiar. This is the same office as they had in the first game. This, I don't know about this picture here. I think this was in the first game as well, but this one is definitely from the first case. So that's us at the end when they celebrated the ghost crime. We had a little dance party on the beach. I love the little dance numbers they had. I wonder if she got like mocap rigs and stuff to do the dancing, because they just move in a really particular silly way. It just looks odd. Fine, I'll pick up the collie. Frog detective, crime solving agency. Frog detective speaking. I wish I could do voices. Hi detective. Hi supervisor. Why did you hang up on me? Huh? We were talking just a moment ago about a new case. The one at Warlock Woods, right? Yeah. I hung up because I got too excited about solving another mystery. That's understandable. I was about to say the same. I mean, you're sending it to Warlock Woods, that's very exciting. What can you tell me about this new case? It's a doozy, detective. Hold on to your hat. I don't have. Yeah, I was gonna say. Supervisor, you know I can't wear hats. Look at the shape of his head. I love this little picture the supervisor has in his background. What is going on here? He's got like that one guy from Monsters Inc. as his like chef there, who's just doing a bunch of tomatoes. I guess he's doing a pizza grill party with his other chef, the living macaroni, the living pasta man. Is he wearing shorts? I can't tell what that is. Maybe they're very baggy, like joggers? No, the joggers are like the jogging trousers. Joggers are like shoes, right? I think they are. Sorry, anyway. Warlock Woods is a fairly small town up north. They don't get many visitors around them. A couple of days ago, a new resident moved in. A shy kind of gal, doesn't like to be in the center of attention. Anyway, she settles into a new house and doesn't go outside to greet anyone. Anyone. That's suspicious. The residents of the town feel like they need to welcome her properly, so they organize a welcoming parade. Great idea, absolutely. But someone in town seemed to think otherwise. Last night, the parade decorations were destroyed. What? I know, right? So rude. Maybe it was herself. Maybe she didn't want a parade, so she sabotaged it so it wouldn't happen. Nobody has any leads on this case. They don't know who done it. That's where you come in, detective. That's me. I'm the detective. And it's me too. I'm also a detective. I'm aware. Warlock Woods is a magic town, so it's not the easiest place to get to. You'll need to take an enchanted cart to the end of the line and travel the rest of the way on foot. Too easy. You need to question everybody to get to the bottom of things. Do you think you can solve the mystery? Yep. Great, hop to it. Ha. He's a frog. Oh, I forgot to mention. The new resident of Woods is special. She's invisible. Is she a wizard too? Oh, that was loud. And a wizard. She is a wizard too. An invisible wizard. Cool. What's the relevance of her being invisible? Cool. Nobody knows what she looks like, so they're really excited to find out. Hence the parade and the decorations and the celebrations. They want her to be uninvisible. De-invisibled. Visible? Visible. Exactly. Anyway, do you have everything you need? No, I need my detective scope, detecting, investigator, and thingamajig. That's what I need. My shoes, my jumper, my pants. I think I'm missing something. My magnifying glass, that's the word. Yeah, of course. It's on the table next to the door. Once you pick it up, you'll be ready to solve the mystery. Thanks, supervisor. Of course he would know that. He's a supervisor. Good luck, detective. Hang on, Frog Detective, why do you have a landline? I think we need a separate detective to find this out. Maybe Lobster Cop will find out. My trusty magnifying glass, I can't solve mysteries without it. Well, maybe I could, but I wouldn't want to. Got magnifying glass. Item get. Ooh. I see why you wouldn't want to investigate crimes without a magnifying glass now. It makes so much sense. It's not even connected to anything. Oh my god, it's not even a landline. It's like a novelty phone. That's what it is. It's just like a iPhone skinned as a landline. Devious. Oh no. Lobster Cop. Oh, that is his name, yeah. I couldn't quite remember if it was a Lobster Detective or not. Well, this guy's too cool. How could we even compare to this guy? He even has an automatic door. Ah, it's the famous frog detective. Famous? I'm not famous, you're pretty famous. Perhaps not, but I'm sure you will be soon. Wow, I hope so. What brings you to my office, detective? Is this whole building the office? Well, I was just leaving my office actually. I work next door, right here. Oh, I thought that was a cupboard. Nope, that's my office. I've been putting all my cleaning supplies in there. Yes, I noticed. I mean, they're working every time you do it. I would say, this is my office. Hey, you know, upside down, free cleaning supplies. And then say, sure, it is, little cleaning frog. And then say, I am a crime-solving frog, not a cleaning frog. And usually you're gone already. Excuse my ignorance, detective. I wasn't trying to offend. I'm a very busy boy, head full of mysteries. Sometimes I forget to be polite. That's the curse of being a busy boy, or a boy. If I was polite all the time, I would never have time to solve my crimes. I understand. Maybe that's why I'm not as talented as you, Lobster Cop. Perhaps. But detective, you must keep trying, never give up. I can give you some tips if you'd like. Wow, yes please. Tip number 1. Pay attention. You should make sure you are looking at things and pay attention to words. Yes, quite right, quite. Tip number 2, everyone is a suspect. Duh? Even you. I will suspect myself much more from now on. Good call. Tip number 3, carry a notebook. Oh, I'm not really big on books. They are, without exception, factually inaccurate. Detective, don't be foolish. A book you write yourself cannot be factually inaccurate if you're writing facts. I suppose you're right. You do get to decide which is facts or not when you write your own book. I don't have a notebook though. Well, it's your lucky day. I have a spare notebook on my desk. You can decorate it and use it all you like. Wow, really? Yup. There are stickers you can use. Stickers! It's a whole new game. I bought them with all my crime-solving money. Cool. I'll let you get to it, detective. Head into my office when you're ready to decorate. Okay, thanks, Lobster Cop. Specialty coffee subscription, the coffee light? Ah, okay, that explains it, okay. Because I was thinking, wait a second. 350 grams of coffee every 2 weeks for 14 pounds. That sounds like both not very much coffee and also a lot of money. I was like, wait a second. I don't even drink that much coffee, and I'm pretty sure I drink like 4 times that in a week. No, I don't do that. That's a lie. I lied to you. I got you. Telling factual inaccuracies on my own stream here. Oh my god, he's got so many pictures because he's solving 6 times as many crimes as me. Frog. Other frog. Oh my god, what is that? That's disgusting. You're just gonna put gore on my stream like that? Jeez. Can't believe it. Freaking fish carcasses in my fish game. Big head. Oh my god, it's tiny. Tiny guy. What the hell is that? Wait, hang on. What is this? What is this? Oh, I guess it's sitting in a tree. It's a horse sitting in a tree. Ghost? 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 Oh my god, the ghosts are real. A random cheap instant coffee I just picked up on Tesco is 6p per serving. Okay, I see, yeah. So coffee is effectively 80p per 7. Yeah, okay, yeah. So it is indeed an expensive coffee then, okay. I don't know much about like UK food prices at all. When I was in UK, I thought everything was super cheap. I was like, how is food so cheap? How is it so cheap to live here? That's crazy. But like now things are really expensive everywhere. So now I doubly don't know what food costs anywhere. Especially because like when I was there as well, everyone was saying, wow, it's so expensive to live here, you know, you can't afford food already then, you know. So I have no idea what food costs elsewhere. Stickers. Sticky notebook. Which stickers should I pick? And where should they go? Oh my god, there's so many options. Yes. Isn't that sound effect? Very good. Oh my god, I can make multiples. Okay, that's great. Like so, I think. I think that's a good look for him. I wish this could be like a kind of hat. I think that kind of works as a hat. It's a bit big though. Like I could do this, but it kind of obscures the... Oh, I can do this. Okay, that's what I want. Okay, perfect. I don't obscure the magnifying glass too much. Okay, so here's this character. It's Rudolph. One hand, his all business investigating the crimes. On the other hand, Party Dolph. With big smoochy lips. I don't know about that. It doesn't look quite right. Maybe if I did like this, it's better. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good, I think. Cactus has to get somewhere here. Cacti also famously ready to smooch. Obviously, everyone knows that. So you got a lot of plant stickers. I guess you're really into that. It's me! Me. There we go. There's other boots. It's cowboy boots. These are useful for something, I'm sure. I think you have like a robot, and then like the robot could be using cowboy boots, I think. Like that. Still, 80p for a nice coffee compared to £3 on average from the coffee shop? Yeah. Yeah. No, not roasting you for your coffee choices. But I was just thinking, that's a bit pricey. But if you like coffee, then you do you, right? I think like good, nice coffee like that is really lovely. Like I've often bought like people quite nice coffee for Christmas gifts and stuff that I gotten from like different cafes. I think that's something I would personally love to get as a gift, because like I do love good coffee, but I'm not gonna spend the money on it for myself. This is always my favorite part when seeing someone play this game. People are always gonna do something different for this part, aren't they? Like, there are actually like a good amount of options here for stickers, so really, my notebook is gonna look much different to other people's notebook, I think. It's a sun gate, yeah. This is I'm not quite sure what I was thinking here with this sun gate, but I don't know. I just sort of see these guys kind of being like a good sort of duo, you know. Like it's like oh, enemies front. You know, this gate is like enemies front. You got my back, son. And it sounds like, yeah, dude, I got your back. And it's got the cool sunglasses too. So you know these guys have an unbreakable bond, you know. Hang on. There we go. That's better. You see what I mean? Hang on, there is a hat here. This is just a hat. I didn't have to pretend that the one of the things was a hat. And obviously, this character here can use many hats. So they will. Socks! Oh my god! There's so many options. I'm gonna put the spider here because it reminds me of that like song, you know, the children's song. The Itsy Bitsy Spider. And then obviously you gotta have one of these things down here. For the spider to land in, you know? Like, I got you! You're safe. Don't worry, spider. I got you. Like that. What is this? Is this like a nose? I guess so. I think this works. Yeah, that definitely works. I think my notebook has become a little bit too busy. I don't know. Trophy for me. Because I made such a lovely notebook. I deserve this. Okay, I think this is good now. Egg. 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 I think this is one of those like. This is sort of like a Rorschach thing, like a Rorschach test you do yourself, on yourself, you know? Like, what you choose to put on this notebook, it just says a lot about you, you know? Can you put the egg in a trophy to the power? Is this illusion convincing enough for you? Are you convinced by this egg illusion? It's not an egg. Oh my god, it's just positively brimming with eggs in here. What is this? Oh, it's an eye! That's what it is. Nah. We already have a notes like that on someone. No, come on. I don't want to rotate. Listen, move it up. Like that. Really? Well, you can just put Google as on whatever you want? Yeah, on whatever I want. And so this guy got it. There's a lot of freedom here. There's a lot of player expression in this game. Oh my god, I have more googly eyes. Just I love putting googly eyes on eyes. It's so unnecessary. There were already eyes though. I guess maybe I could put the eyes on whatever I wanted. If I had to plant with the eyes. No. I'm fine putting Google eyes on eyes, even though it's very redundant. I think we're done. We have what if eyes, but bigger. Exactly. Oh, hang on, wait a second. New tech. I've got new tech. This new technology. Wait a second. I've spotted something that which does not have a face. And wait, hang on. Everything should have a face here. We ran out, yes. This is the creative process of this. What does not have a face? That which could have a face. Truly, this is Rare's vision. Yeah, I think this is perfect. Yeah, I don't think there's any way to improve this. This is great. When I'm right, I'm right. I really could have. Oh, hang on, wait a second. No. One last stroke here of genius. Whoa. There we go. Now we're right. This truly cannot be improved any more than it has been already. We truly are in the deep south here. I'm done. Oh my god, it's so good. I love it. Good book. This is the good book. Sticky! I'm coming up the achievements. Sticky! Maybe I should go up here. No, I kind of like myself down here. I do kind of like myself down here. I just have to tell you when there's achievements to be shown. Open notebook with tab. Ooh. Ooh. My things. That's my inventory. Ooh, invisible wizard. That's the case. Ooh. Whoa. Hello. I do suspect Lobster Cop. Maybe Lobster Cop made up the crime to give me a challenge. That's really nice of him, also very unlikely. Needs. Figure out where to put cleaning supplies, not my office. Number 1 best detective, has lots of fans, is super cool. So many trophies. Hope I'll get a trophy one day. I don't think I did it, but maybe I have a rare curse where I commit crimes in my sleep. A holiday, just joking. Notes, I have a jumper, I have pants, I have a magnifying glass, I have a good attitude. Oh, you're so right. Oh, banana. Ooh, banana. I have suspicious stickers. I wish I had some suspicious stickers so I could suspect all my friends. How's your book decorating coming along? It's right there on the desk, you know? I know, just take my time and all. No, I've done it now. Well, I haven't got all day. Just kidding, I do have all day. Take as long as you need. Oh, he does have a lot of trophies, doesn't he? That's like half a dozen here, at least. Wait, I guess I just leave now? Is that what you're telling me? Oh, hang on, why are we on the phone with the supervisor if it's in here? Is he in here? Time to solve another mystery. Indeed. With a good book. Loading. Warlock Woods. Truly, this is the Deep South. That's right, we're not a rule break over here. Warlock Woods. Good one. She done it. Rav done it. Definitely suspicious. Absolutely Mary did it. This seems very promising. What a colorful cast of characters. All equally suspicious. I'm sure they did it. Oh, we're here. We're here. Susan? Someone's spilling cheese triangles everywhere. That's suspicious. What are you, like a little... What are those creatures called? Teppy? Tepesh. No, there's like a overgrown anteater. Those triangles boiled? I think that this might be. That's why they're like all over the ground, like gross. These triangles are boiled. I want to eat these. Tapir, that's the one. That's the one. Hey, Cully, hello. Can always count on Cully to help me with the names of esoteric animals. Oh my stars! It's you! It's me! The famous lobster cop. I mean, sure, go with it. Why not? I really thought you'd be a lobster. Okay, sure. She realizes. Oh no, I'm a frog. Yeah, why is your name Lobster Cop? I have to tell you something. Duh? I am not Lobster Cop. Why not? I don't know how to answer that. Who are you? I'm the detective, the definitive one. Frog detective. I see. Was Lobster Cop not available? Unfortunately not. Well, I think you'll do just fine. Doesn't sound like it. Oh my god, look at these special effects up here. Nice. Those are way bigger than you would think. They're great. Yeah, they're like pigs, right? They're pigs, but they got like trunks. They're really cute. They're great. I saw that they like I was reading a Wikipedia article about them at some point, and it said something like along the lines of like them being quite shy animals, and they'll just like hide in water with like nothing but the trunk showing, like a snorkel. They look really cute. Thanks. I'm Susan. Hi, Susan. Hi. I'm the one who contacted the agency, which I think you'll find excludes me from being a suspect. Well, it may be up until you said that, which is highly suspicious. They're bigger than any pig I've seen? Wait, they're bigger than pigs? Dang it. I didn't quite get the scale from the videos itself. Oh, I didn't know what, that was how it worked. You should know these things, detective. I'm sorry. It's okay. I think you should still question me though. To rule all doubt. Okay, question me all you like. How are tapir bigger than pigs? Like, pigs are huge. They're really big. You're talking about like hogs, right? Like real hogs. Like a real hoggy hog, you know? Like bigger than that? Damn, these guys are... Look at that guy on the right there. The panda tapir? Oh my god. Beautiful. That's so good. I love that. about the wizard. Do you know the wizard personally? Nobody knows her personally. Well, not here at least. Not me. Right. But I had a lot to do with the organization of the parade. And I was the one to start the investigation. Susan's really doing overtime here trying to clear her name. You mentioned that. It's worth bringing up again. So you were fine with her moving to the town? Absolutely. That old house has been empty for years and it's really nice someone wants to live there. It needs a lot of fixing up, but it'll look nice soon, I think. Plus, it's always exciting to have a new neighbor. Sure is. A bit of a sign I made for the wizard, but it got knocked down last night. I was wondering about that. Why is it so crooked? I'm feeling pretty sad about it, if I'm honest. I know you're here to solve the mystery, but I just need to tell someone how I feel. You can talk to me about it. Thank you. I'm not a professional sign maker yet, but I worked really hard on this sign. Really, I struggled to understand why someone would knock it down. It feels so heartless, and now I'm not sure who to trust. I thought everyone here would be thrilled to have a new neighbor. Is that the parade that was vandalized, the sign? Someone took out one nail of it? It's a tricky situation to be sure. Some people are protective of their communities and think new people are going to change things for the worse. That's almost never the case. New people make places better because they bring new perspectives, especially in small communities. Hopefully it's just a misunderstanding or a mistake. I like to believe people are good. That being said, I'm treating everyone as a suspect. But not me, right? Even you, especially you. Especially me. Oh no. Sorry, not sure I said that. But you're off the hook, not off the hook just yet. Hook? That's it. Detective, could you please find me a hook? I could hang the sign back up with it. Wait, are you gonna use a hook for that? Well, I guess, yeah, sure. If it's got like a hang on the back of it, yeah, sure. Okay, I'll do my best. When she first said, can you get me a hook? I was like, but you could use your hand. You could use a hand to hang it up. I was like, oh, okay, I get it now, yeah. But still, you know, it looks like you just use a nail. Push me all you like. What did you need? The hook, right? Somebody fix my sign. A hook. I figured it out. Okay. About last night. Where were you on the night in question? I was at home, knitting a jumper for the wizard. Really? Oh, so you can see the wizard, right? I picked all the colors myself and everything. Though I'll admit, it's a bit hard to focus on knitting. Why is that? I get so distracted by the wool. It's so fun to play with. Because Susan's a kitty cat. Meow. I play with it so much that I unravel the whole thing and it goes everywhere. It's a big nuisance. I understand. But I was concentrating on the knitting so much that I didn't notice the destruction of the parade. I'm sorry. No. She's got an alibi and everything. Clearly it couldn't be her. Did you notice anything at all? Now that I think of it, I saw a big van out near the entrance to Warlock Woods. That's not even legal. That's not allowed. It didn't drive in there or I would have heard it. It was like a no carts allowed sign. I didn't worry about it at the time, of course. That's all I remember. Sorry. No worries. Question me all you like. Definitely right, eh? Oh, clearly. Oh, here we go, Susan. Maybe she didn't like a sign, destroyed a parade out of embarrassment. And she needs someone to fix a sign. She insists she's not suspicious. And that does make her more suspicious than she realizes. Absolutely. Oh no, hang on, no. Worked really hard on the sign, saw a van at the entrance last night. I think that warrants a big fat suspicious sticker, right? She is being rather suspicious. Another landline enjoyer I see. Well. Also an enjoyer of just having portraits of yourself on the wall. Just one of those people that just have a selfie as like a phone wallpaper, you know? Hello. Well, well, well. Nice shirt you got, though. You too? I guess everyone's into that in this little town. I guess it makes it easy to spot where people live. Is that the invisible wizard? And I guess they're less invisible because they're wearing clothes and like they got the googly eyes on themselves. I figured they'd be in like a you know, like a far off manor or something, you know, where I wouldn't be able to see them. I would have to track them, but no, they're right here, I think. Hello, is anyone home? It sounds like somebody's inside, but I shouldn't intrude on them. I'll come back another time. That's the invisible wizard, dude. Oh, hello? I'm not sure why this pie is here, but it seems out of place. I'll hold on to it for now. Got a pie. Pie got. One lost pie. Is that going to imply? Is that implying there's going to be many lost pies? The number though. It does look good, doesn't it? Yummy. I want to eat this lost pie. Not all pies who wander are lost. Oh, hello. Little guy. I guess that's the developer's pet. Just to make sure, you know which bed belongs to whom. I love that these are like both double beds as well. And they're like right next to each other. It makes me think like how many people sleep in that room, you know? What's up with these boiled triangles? Maybe I should follow the trail. See if they lead anywhere. Oh! Well, ooh, hello. It would appear you're the one who's leaving directed little boiled triangles around and pies. Well. What are you dropping? Chips? They're yummy? That's suspicious. What have you got to say for yourself? Mandy? You're the detective, right? I'm Mandy. Hi, Mandy. Be careful where you step, detective. There's mess everywhere. I'm used to mess. Lucky you, I'm not. My shoes are brand new. I can't get them dirty. Why don't you change shoes? Detective, are you joking? I can't wear flats with this look. Their proportions would be all wrong. Besides, these shoes are enchanted. I'm one of the few actual witches here in the Warlock Woods. Most folks here are just fans of the spooky, which is fine and all, but it means a lot of the cleaning work will be mine to do. I never should have learned a tidying up spell. It shouldn't take too long for me to clean up this mess, but first I need to find all my pies. Oh no, there are more pies. What happened to your pies? Same thing happened everywhere. Someone thought it'd be fun to knock them all over. That's what pies are for, right? So annoying, I spent ages making them. If only I had that make pie spell. Because you're an actual witch. Well, do you mind if I ask you some questions? Tell me what you want to know. About your pies. Do you need help finding your pies? Yes. Detective, seriously. I seriously need help. Straight up, I can't see anything right now. These glasses are so dark, it's unreal. They do look rather tinted. I'm such a dingus. This town is literally cloaked in eternal light. Why don't I think sunglasses would be a good idea? They weren't a good idea. However, I don't regret it. They make you look amazing. I like your horns. Yes. Do you think I look amazing? Yup. Thanks, I do too. Worst purchase I've ever made in terms of practicality, but it brings this look to a new level. I may be a dingus, but I'm a very stylish dingus. What were you talking about? My outfit. No, before that. Pies. Right. You offered to help pick up my pies. I'm missing quite a few. If you could bring them to me, I'd be happy to clean all up and give you one as a payment. I need 6 pies or however many, and I get 1 in return? That's a scam. Sounds like fun. Neat. Thanks, detective. Okay. About last night. What happened last night? Where were you last night, Mandy? Doing heaps of push-ups and getting ripped. No, I doubt it. Doesn't look like it. Just kidding. I was on whizbay.net, where magic happens. Trademark. What were you doing? Bidding on some new shoes. Likely story. But you just got these ones, yeah. But the ones I was bidding on would go super well with this blue dress I have. Wow, cool. I know. I didn't win though. Who got them? Who got the shoes? Not sure, all I know is the screen name. Someone called Dizzy Wizzy 109. Sorry to hear it. How'd you feel when you lost? A bit defeated. I went for a midnight stroll to cool off. Oh, Mandy, what did you see? No, she saw nothing because of her dumb sunglasses. But then I saw someone in the distance. It was pretty foggy night, so I couldn't see much. But they were carrying a large box. I couldn't see what they looked like, but they definitely weren't from here. It felt like they were waiting for someone. I didn't think too much of it and went home. Did you hear any noise after that? No, my house is soundproof. Ever since Mary has taken up singing, it's kind of a necessity around here. Okay. Not totally just out of the blue that she has a soundproof house. I only saw the mess in the morning. Interesting. Mandy. Upset about not winning the shoes, perhaps. Took it out on the parade? Help find a 5 pies. Okay, that's too many pies. I don't know if it's enough for a parade though. Last night was on Whizbay, bidding for shoes, someone knocked her pies over, what a bummer. Schooled me about fashion, fair enough. Real witch, spooky. Suspicious. Pie? It's a lost pie. Okay, we got 2, so we need 3 more. Kind of think smoking gun is gonna be her chips that she has thrown about everywhere. I'm gonna find one. I'm gonna be like, wow, it was Mandy the whole time. What's this? Hello, wizard. Oh, I guess that's the. I guess that's the banner that was somewhere. This is a really expensive picture of zebra. It's much better value getting a picture of this dog in a sweater. What is that tube there? Dr. Tight Smile? Dr. Tight Smiles. I think that's what it says. I guess it's a toothpaste tube. Fine. I'll talk to you, zebra. What wares do you peddle, sir? It's Carlos. A customer. Welcome to Carlos All Things You Could Need shop. As long as they are pictures of animals. Are you Carlos? Yes. Just like the name of the shop, that's me. How cool is that? The shop has my name in it. So cool. My company also has my name in it. What's your company called? Rogue Detective Crime Solving Agency. What's the name? Crime? No. I'm the Frog Detective. That's not really a name though, more of a title. Oh, I suppose you're right. It is my name, considering I'm the detective. My shop actually has my name in it. Cool, I'm jealous. Thanks. In Warlock Woods, we are all our own biggest fans. Being conceited is a societal construct. We have rejected it, hence why my shop is so popular. I sell portraits among other things. Wow, that's great. My office neighbor Lobster Cop has a picture of himself right above his desk. Everyone here has pictures. Oh, wow, that's an in-universe explanation why everyone has pictures of themselves. Because being conceited is a societal construct. Huh? You know Lobster Cop? Yup. Holy heck. I've been a fan forever. You know, he told the mystery of the haunted island recently. That was me. Oh, I don't think. It was actually me that sold it. Wait, really? It was all over TV, the dance competition had the lobster in it. Oh, you must be thinking of Larry. You mean small Larry? No, this was regular sized lobster. No. Larry's a regular sized lobster. Not the Larry I know. Oh well. Agree to disagree. No, it was me. I really did solve a mystery. It was me, the detective. That's really cool. Thanks. So you're like the second best detective, I suppose. Yeah, do you mind if I ask you some questions? Okay. What would you like to know? That night in question. Where were you last night? Never forget how hard you got bodied by Carlos? Yeah, he roasted me there. Unless there's another Carlos, which just bothered me. Sometime in the past that I forgot. You say my shop. What about when you closed up? My shop doesn't close. It's 24 hours. You just live here? Sell things? Do you eat your own produce? What if someone needs a portrait of themselves at 4 AM? You open all the time? Sure am. Of course, I sleep and eat and look after myself. My customers simply wake me if they need to buy anything. Wow, that's horrible. Where do you sleep? I sleep standing up. Years of training. I'm the most committed shopkeeper in all of Warlock Woods. Also the only shopkeeper in all of Warlock Woods. Do you ever take breaks? Sometimes. I really like it here in my shop. It's where I feel the most at home. The extreme shopkeeper lifestyle isn't for everyone, but I take so much joy from my work. Me too, although I must request that you look after yourself and close the shop up if you need a break. Okay, I promise. Doing work here, being a part-time therapist for all these witches, shopkeepers. Anyway, did you see anything last night? Nothing particularly interesting, why? The crime. Huh? I think I need to question you a bit more. Go for it. What would you like to know? What is that? Oh yeah, okay, the wizard. Yeah, the wizard. Tell me about the wizard. You sold wares to the wizard. What do you know about the new wizard that just moved in? Who? The invisible wizard that moved in literally next door. What, really someone moved in? Yeah, there's a whole parade about it. The place has been empty for ages. I gotta say hi. Well, the parade was meant to be for saying hi. Parade? A parade that everyone has been prepped for. I guess Carlos is just sleeping all the time. So, not very helpful here. Wow, how nice, I can't wait. It was destroyed last night. What? This conversation's a rollercoaster of information. I have literally no idea what's happening. You weren't involved in decoration at all? Nope. Should I offer to help now? Wait, who is the parade for again? Is it for me? No, it's for the invisible wizard. She just moved in next door. Right, okay. Oh dear. The party hats. Pardon? Every time we throw a parade, everyone has party hats to wear. Mine was ruined at the last parade. I've been too busy working in my shop to buy a new one. Oh no! How embarrassing, I can't show up to the parade without one. You think it's too late to order one online? No. It'll be tight. What do you mean there's not gonna be another parade? Or maybe there's one. It's already been. You're right, what should I do? Don't stress, I'll track one down for you before the parade starts. Okay. Oh my gosh, thank you, detective. In the meantime, I'll figure out a way to repay you. Unfortunately, I don't have any frog portraits just yet. Wait, do you just like sell portraits of people and just say that of them, but it's really just the animal there? It's handy, I guess. So you did a party hat. We can sort that, maybe. Carlos. Could be worried about the wizard doesn't shop locally. What do you mean Carlos doesn't even shop locally? He's ordering stuff online like party hats. Busy boy. Works really hard. Didn't know anything had happened. Seems stressed. What else? Seems stressed about the parade, doesn't have a hat. Broke his hat because he was breaking the parade. Suspicious. Yeah, triangle strategy does seem really nice. I played some I think I played some other games by the guys that made that. I don't remember if they made Octopath Traveler or not. But I liked Octopath Traveler. It looked a lot like Octopath Traveler. But I don't remember what triangle strategy is right now. I think it's one of those games. Yeah, it's coming to PC, it's pretty cool. Ah, so this is where the... Wait a second, are you a liar? I guess he has a house. He just likes being in his shop all the time. I should question the lion about how much the zebra is at the shop. Maybe. Okay, what is going on here? Who are you? Triangle Strategy is an FF Taxis game by the Octopath team in Square. Okay, yeah, it is. Yeah, I thought it was. Hi, it's Victor. Hello. Want to hop in? Wow, it's so inviting. Everyone here is so nice. I think must be someone here who's gonna be very mean, and I'll know that they did the crime. A little bit, but I'm on a case. Oh, cool. I'm Victor. Who are you? The detective. Is that your real name? Maybe. Cool, cool. Are you here to question me and stuff? Because, like, I'm not suspicious. We'll see about that. How do you know you're not suspicious? Well, I think I didn't do it. You think? Yeah, nobody knows anything for certain these days. So why are you here swimming? I'm visiting my friend Noddy. Noddy, like the TV show. Oh, she's the only person I know with a hot tub. Plus, I heard there were gonna be delicious pies for the parade, so the timing was perfect. Where do you live normally? Victor doesn't even live here. That's suspicious. Over near Pumpkinville. Nice spot. I was thinking of taking a holiday there at some point. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So anyway, can I ask you some questions about the case? Yeah, whatever. Questions. About the wizard. Have you even seen a wizard? Of course not. They're invisible. You can't have. Did you know about the invisible wizard before you came here? Not really. I knew the parade was of her, but beyond that, I don't know a lot. Annoying that they never throw a parade for me coming to visit. Huh? I'm super cool. Well, you're not living here. You're not moving here. You're just visiting. Have you been here before? So many times. The first time they even threw me a parade. Also, I did throw you a parade on, liar. Victor, liar, face. I take the parade thing back. Just pretend I didn't say that. Extra suspicious now. Detective, I'm really bored of this conversation. I'm sorry if that's rude, but I have a new policy of being honest with people. Oh my god, no, it's Yahtzee. Were you dishonest before? Yeah, I guess. I wouldn't tell people when they were boring me. I don't think that counts as dishonesty. So what am I supposed to do when people are boring? I'm not sure, but probably don't tell them. It would hurt their feelings. I didn't hurt your feelings though, did I? Well, I have to admit I was a bit hurt. I have a very exciting job, and I'm a rogue, and I solve mysteries. I don't think I'm boring at all. Sure, but I've seen heaps of rogues before. Plus, I've solved my fair share of crimes. You have, Victor? Sure, which crimes? This one. Who done it? You solved the crime already? Yeah, Ralph did it. How do you know? Good point. I haven't decided that bit yet, but it seems like that it did it. What was his motive? His what? Motive, the reason for destroying the parade. I think because an eye patch on. I don't think that's a real motive. Have you seen your motives you've written in your notebook? I don't think you're coming up with better motives yourself. But that does not make any sense. Now who's the rude one? This conversation isn't going anywhere. Neither are you, apparently. Not until I solve the mystery. I'm sorry for being rude, detective. I mean it. I just get so grumpy when I'm hungry. Oh, we gotta get him some food. Maybe the pies. Maybe we have to make some sort of decision. Do I give the pies to Mandy or to Victor? And get out of the hot tub? No, I must continue to soak. You could ask someone to get you something to eat. Like who? There's nobody here. Wow, rude. I'm here. Right, there I go being rude again. If you happen to find food, I would love to have some. In the meantime, I would like to apologize for being so rude. Please, take 1 money as an apology. I got 1 money. Got 1 money. How did Bozo did it? Bozo dubbed it. Oh, I can't give the lost pie to him. It's gonna say no though, because Mandy wants it. Oh, Octopath 2. Nice. It's very nice. Love all these games coming out on PC. It's nice. It was a time where like so many Japanese games just wouldn't come out on PC, and that feels so like distant now because it's been quite good. Not all the ports are like great, but everything's coming to PC, I feel. I haven't looked at the Dragon Quest 3 remake. But that does sound really fun. I do want to get into Dragon Quest at some point. And hell yeah, Final Fantasy 9 is really good. That's my favorite PS1 Final Fantasy at least. And at least like top 3 Final Fantasies for me. Could be my favorite. Could be 10, I don't know. There's a lost pie for you. Hello Victor, I have a pie for you. Detective, where'd you find this pie? I found it on the ground. Sorry, detective, you may have to speak up. These hot jets are mighty loud. I found this pie on the ground over there. Detective, I do not want to eat a ground pie. I made a mistake. I'd say maybe even 2. 2 mistakes? Yes, 1 mistake for giving me a dirty pie and another mistake for giving me a pie. That does not belong to you. Yeah, true. That's right, detective. I'm visiting from out of town. I know that this is Mandy's pies. They are delicious. If you just happen to find it on the ground, it cannot be yours to give away, so I cannot accept it. You're right, Victor. I have made 2 mistakes. I'm sorry, and I am sorry. That's okay, detective, but I'll be watching you. You should return this pie to Mandy. Okay, I'll do that. I got an achievement for that. Gross! 1 money. Hadn't eaten, could have been jealous of the parade. Yes, did sound rather jealous, didn't he? Needs something to eat. Such a rude individual. Perhaps only rude because of hunger, but maybe just rude in general. Doesn't want to live here, only visiting. I want to go to Pumpkinville. Do want to go to Pumpkinville, that's true. I don't know who lives here. I guess it might be you. No, yes, it is you. What? Huh? Who are you? The detective. Oh, I thought Lobster Cop was coming. Huh? What? Did you say something about Lobster Cop? No. But I heard... Can this frog read my mind? Why are you speaking like that? Like what? Like this. Whoa. Is this what telepathy is? Can you hear this frog? He's saying everything out loud. Wow, this frog has a temper. Anyway, who are you? I'm Noddy. Okay. I'm the mayor of Warlock Woods. Wow, such a rude mayor here. They elected you? Okay. Was it you that asked me for me to come? No. I would have asked for Lobster Cop. I really need to emphasize that I can hear you. Stop listening. Okay. Can I ask you some questions about the case? I guess so. Tell me what you want to know. Display Dragon Quest 11. I might do that when I at some point feel like playing Dragon Quest. It feels like such a big commitment that to play games like that maybe not yet. Maybe someday. Someday, one glorious day, I'll feel like playing a game like that, but maybe not now. I should try it on Game Pass at some point when I got enough points. That'll be fun. The FF9 ports seems pretty cool. Oh yeah, you're doing it mod as well, aren't you? Does it work alright? Yeah, because 7 and 8 was pretty jank, yeah. And no, the 7 was fine, right? Yeah, no, it's jank, yeah, and 8 was full and broken. Yeah, like, it sounded like you kind of struggled finishing 8 because it was so broken, so. I'm happy 9 is working well for you, because I think that's also the best game out of the lot. How about Last Night? Looks fantastic? That's awesome. I want to try it like that too. That sounds like a good way to play it. What can you tell me about Last Night? Nothing. Oh. But I can tell you about the wizard. I know basically everything there is to know about her. That's great. First of all, she's a wizard. Uh-huh. And she is invisible. Great. And she just moved in. Yup. And she is a wizard. I think you mentioned that. No, I don't think I did. Wow, she's so duplicitous. Very suspicious. Right, okay, sorry. It's fine. Anyway. Okay, well, tell me about the wizard then. So how do you feel about the wizard coming to live here? Oh heck, how do I answer this? Well, I'm happy she's here, but that house has been empty for ages. And I didn't know she was coming, right? Nobody told me, you see. Arjun Mayer? I think so, anyway. She kinda came at a weird time of night. And I thought she was a ghost. Oh, yeah, it was a bit messy. Oh? I tried to vacuum her up. Oh, with a vacuum? I put it in the highest setting. Just really went to town with the vacuum. I think I really freaked her out. Now she won't come out of the house. I want a vacuum like that, so I can chase down people when they bother me in the streets. It's the longest cable. That sounds like a quality vacuum. Please don't put me in jail. You're not going to jail. Jail isn't real, but you probably apologize. Okay, sorry, detective. I'm into the wizard. Right, yeah. Are you gonna give me access to the wizard? I would love to go in there, interrogate her. That's what's helping with the parade. To apologize. But she hasn't been out of the house. Also, the parade is ruined. I see. This makes me sound really bad. I swear I wanted the parade to be lovely. As the mayor of the town, I booked a live band to play a song. What song did you play? But as you can see, the stage is gross and ruined now. The band is on their way and I have no time to fix it. Okay. I thought you were gonna say like the band was like terrible or something. The very famous band. I want to be as professional as possible. If only I had a rug or something. I could cover up the mess, but the town is in disarray. I don't have time to track one down. Oh no! Hang on, wait a second. Oh no! There we go, thank you. Thank you for your concern. If you happen to find anything that would work, please let me know. You could just clean it, it's just a couple of chips. Do you have more questions? I don't think I do. She needs a rug or something. Oh, I guess she could, get some help to clean it up. Noddy. Try to vacuum the wizard. Maybe there's some history there. It's a bit suspicious. Noddy, you seem very suspicious, I think. Means I can read minds? I can't. The mayor? I had a cool band to play at the parade and attack the wizard. Yeah, I don't know about you, Noddy. I think you are entitled to a free, suspicious sticker. You're also Victor. Hang on, can I make myself suspicious? I can. Ultimisia Castle just crashed constantly bugged that. Yeah, and that's like the final dungeon, right? It's like a terrible place for the game to just stop working. Yeah, so she just wants to put like a big rug over this puddle, I guess. Wow, it's such a mess here. Wow, it's horrible. So many chips everywhere. There's no way we could fix this. Oh, pie. That's three pies, I think. Just 2 more. Nice. Let's see. Alright, how about you? Apparently you done it. I think he accused you. Right? Yeah, Ralph. Hello, little frog. I'm Ralph. Why are you yelling? I'm just making sure you can hear me. I can hear you. You don't have to yell. You're very small. Might be difficult for you to hear. I'm small, but I'm also very close to you. Being small isn't the same as being far away. He's even thinking loudly. Are you sure? You can hear me at this volume? Yes. Weird. Well met, Amphibian One. I'm the detective. I'm here to solve the mystery. Really? Yes. But you're so small. You're just a little guy. I'm of average frog height. Can I ask you some questions about the case? Questioning me, huh? About the wizard. How do you feel about the wizard moving in? It's nothing against the wizard, but I've been living with my friend Carlos for a while now, and our space is big. But I would really like my own home. Oh. I'd been eyeing off that old house for ages. I thought maybe I'd move in one day. But the wizard got there first. I see. It's my fault, I guess. I shouldn't hold it against the wizard. This house is twice as big as all the other houses. Maybe you could renovate it and turn it into 2 houses. You could split it down the middle. Or have one house upstairs and one house downstairs. Like an apartment. That's a pretty cool idea. I like Carlos and everything, but I'm a private boy. Me too. I'm also a private boy and a private eye at the same time. So I understand. I don't have any renovation supplies though. Oh, okay. I guess we gotta get some lumber for Ralph. Thanks for your help, detective. Maybe if I do a good job, I'll get my own building show. What's a building show? Oh, like those British renovation programs? I'm excited to see it. About your eye. May I ask why you have an eye patch on? That's Ralph's business. Oh, it'd be really good for me to know why you have an eye patch. Sometimes a boy just wants to wear an eye patch. That shouldn't make me suspicious. You put it on for fashion? Of course it did. No, it's a trick. Ralph wears it like a pirate so that he can go into like dark places and his eyes already adjusted to it. Detective, I don't want to get into this too much, but I watched a movie last night about pirates and I loved it. And there's another 3 left. 3 whole movies. Can you believe it? Sequels. I've never heard of a movie having a sequel before. You better start believing in sequels, Rogue Detective. You're in one. I know, right? Usually sequels are reserved for video games. Yes, it's extremely normal to have a video game sequel, especially for games with large audiences like the Toad Investigation series. Yeah, anyway, I was watching a pirate movie last night. That's where I was. And for that reason, I've decided to wear an eye patch. Reasonable. Believable. I get it. Not suspicious at all. I'll leave it at that. My thanks. Is that all? So he needs renovation supplies. I was typing the quotes so fast, but I couldn't beat you. I watched Pirates 2 recently. In true pirate fashion, wanted to cause a ruckus, maybe? Loves pirates, eye patch is cosmetic only, a private boy, wants to renovate. Thinks I'm too small. I am not. Well, Ralph doesn't seem too suspicious. I think that's almost everyone interrogated. It's just one left. What's your face? Mary. La. Ooh la la. Hello? Hello, frog. Hello, what's your name? I'm Mary. Nice to meet you, Mary. You too. Did you like my song? Yep. I've been practicing all day and all night. Oh, are you okay? I'm tired. Maybe you should get some sleep. Maybe. You sing very loudly. You can tell from the huge text. Oh, Mary is why everyone soundproofed the houses. This is not just Mandy. This is soundproof the house. You're kind of a menace, Mary. That sounds expensive. Yeah, but that's not really my problem. It's a them problem. I think I sound very good, even late at night. How late? I love to sing at 3 AM. Wow. That's when my energy is at highest. Oh, because he's a witch. Yeah, it's a witching hour. That doesn't sound very healthy. My health is my business. Yeah, that's true, sorry. That's okay. Maybe I should listen to some soft sounds before bed. Whisper, whisper. Welcome to my hair salon. Snip, snip. That'll be 100 money. Why are you role-playing an ASMR video to me right now? Just joking. Anyway, who are you? I'm the detective. Oh, cool. Can you question me? Do you mind if I ask? Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll question you. Oh boy, I love questions. Well, Mary seems nice. Unless you live here at 3 AM, then not very nice. But the wizard. What do you know about the wizard I moved in? Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't actually hear you. I was asking about the wizard. Oh, yeah, there's a wizard. She just moved in. Why? I'm a detective. Right, this is part of the questioning, right? Yeah. Cool. So I didn't do any crimes or anything. And the right to remain silent. You're being arrested. Yeah, but do you want to remain silent? Literally never. So like, I heard it rather super weird about the new wizard moving in. He was super weird. Also, I heard Mandy was in a bad mood the night that the parade was destroyed. She's probably always in a bad mood. Oh, that Noddy like attacked the wizard one time. And that's all actually. Does this make me a snitch? I think so. Rats. Oh boy, I love questions. About last night. What were you doing when the parade was destroyed? Oh boy, yeah. Sucks the parade was destroyed. Oh, we're doing the questioning. What was I doing? Not much, just singing outside. You were outside when the parade was destroyed? Yeah. Did you see anything? Yeah. What did you see? Detective? Have you heard of extortion? Yes. That's great news, is it? Detective, I'd like to extort you. I don't think that's legal. I am above the law. Oh. Why are you extorting me? I would like 5 money for a train ticket. I don't have any money. I have 1 money. Don't lie. We'll best get some soon. What do you need a train ticket for? I want to go to Froggywood and become a star. No more tricking Marys into thinking they're stars. Sorry about the extortion thing, but I don't really have many other ways to get there. I think if you get the money for me, I can finally go and live out my dreams. What will you give me in exchange? Information. What kind of information? A phone number. Duh? Who am I calling? I'm calling someone's landline. Probably, no doubt. I can't tell you that. All I can say is that they were in the vicinity when the parade was destroyed. I don't think you'll be able to solve the case without this phone number. Hence the extortion. Sorry. It's okay, we all get extorted every now and then. Yeah, anyway, come back to me when you have my money. Oh boy, I love questions. No, she always says that. No, trick me, I am a star. Oh yeah, he got an Emmy, didn't he? Well, I think I should leave, that's great. Perhaps the wizard is a better singer than that. Oh, maybe. I love that everyone is wearing the same outfit, but with like different colors in here. They all got like the silly bodysuits with like emojis on them. She extorting me? That's pretty suspicious. Sings really loud all the time, everyone soundproofed the houses, wants to be a big star is extorting me. I have never been extorted before. What a thrill. I guess the last person now is the invisible wizard, right? And I can't get in. Yeah. It's not the right time. Okay, so we need something for you to eat. We need more pies. That seems like the good place to start, I guess, the pies. Because I already got some progress on that. I just have to like find them now. Oh, there's a pie. It's a lost pie. Then one more. Then we have 5. And with 5 pies, I'll get something. I don't know if she promised me anything. But I'll take a pie. Wait, no, yeah, that's what she did, yeah. She's gonna give me a pie if I get 5 pies for her. And then I can give that to him, probably, right? So he can eat it because it's my pie. But he can't eat the pies until it's my pie, because they're now both grand pies and also not my pie to give. That's a pie. It's a lost pie. Okay, there we go. That's the first problem solved, I think. Pie is losing meaning by the second. Been saying the word pie for too many pie times now. Pie. If we can give the pies to her now. But I think I'll have a little midstream break. Just at the middle now. It seems like about an hour and a half. So I think that'll be perfect time for a little stretchy. We can get a little drink, and then we can continue with this game. It's break time. Pie break, yeah. We need a little tension relief, so we can be properly prepared when we give the pie away and continue solving the mystery. Yeah. I'll get myself a nice little drink, maybe another coffee, and I'll be right back in like 5-ish minutes. See you all soon. Be right back. Oh, my mute button doesn't work. God damn it. We got the old tab for this. Hello, I'm back. Hello. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the stream. Most importantly, welcome back to me. Because I don't know if anyone else is back to the stream, but I'm back. I got some coffee, and I got some mints too. I got these things. They're called, like, Marianne mints, or Marianne mints. Nice, they're minty, I got some chocolate on the inside, they're good. Thank you. There's something deeply wrong with me. I came with the coffee as well. And like, I overfilled it a little bit. It's very full. And like, I spilled like 8 times trying to get to my desk. So a large part of that break was just me cleaning up my coffee. And I just kept spilling. I was like, I got it to the desk and I started like cleaning up my desk, you know? And like, as I was cleaning up the desk, I just kept spilling more. There's just something that I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm like I'm some sort of coffee psychopath. Implying I go anywhere but listen to the incidental frog music the whole time. Excellent. Hope you enjoyed it. That's what it's there for your enjoyment. Alright. It's time to return the pies to Mandy. Tell me what? I'll tell you what. The pies. I got them. For you. I found all your pies. What? All of them? I think so. I left a spoon in there. Like a silly. Yeah, it looks like all of them. Wow! You must have searched far and wide. Well, not really. There's not much to this village, really. I searched its general vicinity, yes. Wowie! Nice, detective. As promised, here's 1 money! The pie, though. The pie. I don't think you ever promised payment, but thank you anyway. You're welcome. Oh, I'll give you a pie, too. They're delicious. I'm not very hungry. You can hold on to it if you... No, I need a pie. Nonsense. Pick one and eat it later when you're hungry. Okay, sure. Thanks. No, thank you for finding my pies. Got pie. No, not 5 lost pies. 1 found pie. Done. Amazing baker! I didn't even try the pie, but I guess it just looks good, and that's all that matters. I got you something to eat. It's not a lost pie, it's a found pie. Are you still hungry? Yes, very. It's making me really rude. For example, I think your jumper is outdated. Wow. Victor, I'm not the most fashionable frog in the world, but I like this jumper. It's my favorite. You're right, it's retro, not outdated. I'm simply very hungry. I have a pie for you from Mandy. It's not from the ground? Nope. Mandy gave me a fresh one. Seriously? Score! Yep. Please enjoy it. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Well, that was quick. And I feel much less rude now. Really? Yep. You have beautiful eyes. Oh, wow, thank you. So sweet. It's true, and I think the colored jumper suits you perfectly. You're making me blush. I should give you something in return for this pie. I have a spare party hat I'm not using. Do you have any idea how valuable that is? That'd go for millions of gold in RuneScape. Maybe you could wear it. No, but I know someone that could wear a hat. Because alas, my head is simply not too weird for a shape for a hat. We'll hold on to it anyway. It might come in handy. Thanks. Got a party hat. Very good. Oh, no money though. Where am I gonna get the money? I need the 5 monies, right? Because I'm being extorted. Or someone just tell me that they extorted me. I just noticed the B on the left there of the screen that has like the face of a guy. What would you like to know? I'd like you to know that you have a party hat now. Carlos, I have something for you. No way. It's a party hat. No way. Yes way. That's epic, bro. Totally epic hat, party hat, bro. That's honestly the most epic thing I've heard all day, bro. Thanks, detective. Not a problem. Incorrect. It was a problem, and you solved it. Just like a true detective would. Oh, thanks. You made a fan out of me. Here, let me pay you for your work. Oh no, that's okay. Detective, I insist you take payment. You do work, rogue, and you get paid for it. That's only reasonable. One money should do it. Well, a little bit more payment than that. Just one money? Jeez, come on. Thanks. Also find this rug out back. Not sure what to use it is, but I figure you get us solving these types of puzzles. I know what to do with a rug, yeah. That's gonna get me one more money. A fun use for it, thanks. Best of luck, solving the mystery, detective. Free money and a rug. That's a hat now. I don't have a hat either. I could probably borrow one. It's fine. Am I even invited to the parade? I hope so. This guy. Oh, it's just a bee. It's a cricket. I think that's actually the developer's self with on the cricket. You need a rug. I got a rug just for you. Hopefully you got the money. Great news, everyone. I have found your rug. What? Holy guacamole, this is great news. Thanks for tracking it down. This should do the trick. Wow, it looks just like new. Hopefully the band won't notice the mess. I don't think they will, they're in a fish tank anyway. Why? One guess. Are they fish? They're fish? Bingo. Wait, do you mean to tell me you got the most famous band of all time? The Market Buddies? Yup. They're on their way. Wow, I saw them live once and I was blown away. I can't wait. I'm excited too, I can't wait for the parade to begin. I better get back to work so I can solve the mystery before the parade starts. Before you go, I should give you something in return. Don't insist you can't take it. Come on, you've been through this song and dance now. I have some building supplies left over from when I made the stage. Is that enough? Yeah, sure. I'll just take these building supplies. Why not? Thank you. Building stuff. And one money. No, take the money. Take the money. A simple favor? Yeah, a favor that earns you money. That's what I did. Don't be silly. You worked hard to get me this rug. I insist. Wow, thanks. Another money. Just need one money now and we can pay our extortion fee. Building stuff? Well, I know where the building stuff goes. That's for Ralph. Long snoot. Very perceptive. That's what makes us earn the big bucks as a detective. Frog detective. Questioning me, huh? No, I'm not. I'm giving you building supplies that I got for free. You giving these for free to me? In this economy? I managed to track down some building supplies. Oh great! What exciting news. I'd love to use them, if you're okay to hand them over. Of course. It's not like I was gonna do anything else with them. I'm just gonna take these building supplies home in my little minecart. Excellent, thank you so much. Of course, I must pay you for this. You're gonna give me one money for it? Shh, I won't hear it. Shh. Take a money. Thank you. Also, I think you earned yourself the title of honorary pirate. Oh, he's gonna give me the hook. He's gonna get that. That's why it's a hook, because he loves pirates. You have the treasure collecting skills of the finest pirates. For this, I must award you a special prize. Here, take this hook. God damn it. Of course it is. Wow, what to do with this? You can use it in the hand if you want, or you can use it for something else. I'm not your dad. Not yet. What? Sorry, I don't really know why I said that. All good, enjoy the hook. I like that as a response though, not yet. You never know, and you might just become a dad, you know? Got your hook. Question me all you like. No, just give me the hook so you can fix your sign. Oh, I need to check his house if it did anything as well in the... want to see through the window. I'm back. You're back. Yup. I found your hook. Oh my stars. Thank you, I can fix the sign right away. I don't know how she's gonna deliver the pirate hook. That's okay. What? How? I would like to repay you for this hook. No, that's okay, I got it for free. Nothing is free in this world. Just kidding, a society is really progressive and of 10 things are actually free. What? Of 10 things? As a sign of my gratitude, please feel free to use my house whenever you need. Oh. Thanks. It's very simple but beautifully decorated at least. Nice, I have a house now. I have a phone too. Oh, and we need to use the phone when we got the phone number, right? Yeah, be sure to use it at some point. Thanks, Susan. No, that's perfect. That's a good reward. Although she didn't... No. I got 5 money. I didn't need the money from her. I already got all the money I need for the extortion. It's all good now. It is fairly simple in here. You're right, Susan. But you know, it's all you need, isn't it? Right. You can stop extorting me now because I have the money. Hi, Mary. Hi, detective. How's the extortion going? I think I got your 5 money. Whoa, for real? I didn't think the extortion would work so quickly. That's excellent news. I'm really good at being extorted. I'll say. Anyway, do you have the information for me? Totally. Last night I saw the postman drop off a parcel. It was around the time the parade got destroyed. I couldn't see who he was giving it to, but it was someone here in the town. Barney is the postman's name. He's a chill dude. I don't think he'd mind if you called him up. I have his number. May I have it? Absolutely. Got a phone number. Thanks for giving me this money. I'm really excited to visit Froggywood. I'm excited for you. Obviously I have to wait until the parade is over. Obviously. You're on the crime scene right now and you're a suspect. You have to stay. See you around, detective. Not too long. I think you're very suspicious now that you've taken all the money I've earned. What a thrill though. It was so thrilling. Love being extorted. Oh yeah, look, it looks so tidy here now. It is rug over all the mess. Who should I call? Maybe the mysterious number. I don't have any friends to call? Oh, that's a sad option. I'm a friend. Frog detective. You can be friends. You can call me. Oh, Barney. I wonder where he lives. But it's Barn. Hi, it's Barney. I have you on speaker. Hi, Barney. Hi. Who am I talking to? Lobster Cop. Wow, really? No, I was tricking you. Why, rats? Who is this, Noodle? I'm the detective. I'm calling about an incident that happened last night at Warlock Woods. I didn't do it. Do what? Whatever you called me about, it wasn't me. Are you sure? What did I do? Last night someone destroyed a parade which was being set up for the new resident of the town, the Invisible Wizard. I was told you were in the area when it happened. Oh yeah, I was there. Didn't destroy anything, if that's what you're asking. Was just delivering a parcel. Who were you delivering it to? Someone was talking about a big box that someone got, right? I guess that's from Barney. What was her name? Oh, Lola. When I'm done investigating this crime, I'm going home to Lola. I don't think there's anyone in the town called Lola. It must have been someone who lives there. The address was on the parcel. I can't remember exactly which house it was, sorry. You remember the parcel was sent from? Oh yeah, I did a lot of parcels from them. It was from the WizBay.net headquarters. The shoes. Someone was browsing the WizBays for shoes. That sounds very familiar. Where have I heard that name before? I know Mandy buys a lot of stuff from them. She does. But this wasn't for her. Do you know what was in the package? Some sort of shoe, I think. Maybe a pair of shoes? Why? But that was what Mandy wanted too. Did you get a good look at them? It was pretty dark. I have no recollection of really seeing anyone. Not even a face. Weird. Well, look, is pretty dark, but I haven't had much trouble seeing anyone before. Me neither. It wasn't much more dark than normal, even. Omra is that blue dress with stars on it. Mandy! She wanted new shoes for a blue dress. Pretty stumped on the skates, Barney. Do you know if there were any clues left behind? A signature on the delivery slip or something? I didn't get him to sign it. But I remember something dropping over at the entrance to the woods. I tried to call out and tell them, but they'd stumbled off before I noticed. At the entrance to the woods, you say? I'll check it out. Oh, Mandy is seeming very, very suspicious right now. But so is Barney. Accidentally crashes his van into decorations, drove away without realizing? Maybe. Cool guy. Didn't see who he was delivering to. Lola. Responsible driver. Had me on speaker. True, yeah. I should search near the Wallwoods entrance for the thing that dropped. Yeah, should. Oh, the glasses. This must be the thing Barney was talking about. Oh my god, it really is Mandy. Because she can't see anything. The glasses. There's so many clues. She's so suspicious. They have a name engraved on the arm. The Invisible Wizard. Oh, never mind. I guess the Invisible Wizard is Lola, maybe? Well, this is my only clue left. I think I should try and return these to the wizard. She should be in the old house near Carlos' shop. But her name is the Invisible Wizard? Why do you have that engraved on them? Why'd you do that? There's also a lot of big boxes in here, so that would match some of my cats. Hello, is anyone home? I found his glasses. What's this? What's this? Oh no. There's pies and chips everywhere. Did you ruin your own parade, wizard? Oh no, how am I supposed to find a wizard? They're invisible. I'm home at Lola's. I think that's the wizard right there. Yeah, there's nothing else here. Hello, are you an invisible wizard? Huh? What happened? What's this crab? What's this? Are you slapping the wizard? What's that noise? Sounds like you're slapping the wizard. Giving the wizard a nice spank. I like your heels, wizard. Ooh, what's this dank cellar about? Frog, it's me. It's the invisible wizard. Who's that? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. I'm the detective. Oh, thank goodness. You're here to solve the mystery. Yes! Okay. Well, I don't know where my glasses are. So solve that as soon as possible, please. Thanks in advance. I found the glasses, actually, I think. Are these yours? Ah, I can see again. That was quick. You should get a promotion. I could be the Frog Commissioner. I don't remember calling a detective to solve this mystery, but I must have done. Otherwise, what would you be here, right? Yeah, well, no. Actually, I'm here to solve another different mystery. Which one? I don't mean to ruin the surprise, but the town was setting up a parade for you. I'm sorry to tell you that last night someone destroyed it. I've been trying to figure out why. However, I've noticed that your house is littered with these decorations. Where were you last night? I was on Whizbay. I got some new shoes. I picked express delivery. They arrived last night. Oh, you're Lola? Yes. Back to my alibi. I went to pick up my shoes from the delivery guy. And then I dropped my glasses. Oh. And that's all I have to say about that. Are you sure? Yeah, I think someone else must have destroyed the parade. Perhaps one of my enemies. You have enemies? Yeah. They clearly a rival. The visible wizard. Who? The guy. Oh yeah. She's not the invisible wizard, she's the invisible wizard. Huh? Evil guy. Sorry, what? Enemy. Evil guy. My enemy. Evil guy? Yeah. Are you making this up? No, evil dude is really my enemy. What do you mean evil guy? Evil guy. Your enemy. Yes. Where can I contact evil guy? Oh, he's not able to be contacted. He lives in Canada. He's very mysterious, not available right now. Or ever even. Anyway, he mustn't destroy the parade. Case solved, we did it. Well done, wow. Too bad he's not able to be apprehended, but at least we can continue with our lives. Lola, are you being dishonest? Yes. I'm really sorry. It was me. It was an accident, I swear. You destroyed the parade, didn't you? Wah! Wah! I didn't know the parade was for me, that's so nice. And I ruined it. When I dropped my glasses, I couldn't find my way home. I was bumping into everything. Oh, that makes sense. What happened when you got home? I had some chips stuck to me, so I ate those. And then I just hid. It's easy to hide when you're invisible. Why didn't you tell anyone what happened? I was so embarrassed about it. I only just moved in and I already made a big mistake. I'm a very shy lady detective. I make myself invisible so nobody can see me. That must have been why nobody saw you last night. Yes, I suppose. Can I become not invisible? Uninvisible? Visible? Visible? If you insist. Oh! Ta-da! She's a frog. You're a frog, like me. Yes. I'm slightly disappointed. What? Well, it's just that I had a good joke prepared. I will do it anyway. Okay, so imagine that instead of a frog, you were revealed to be a lizard? Oh no. Okay, so you've just been revealed, okay, pretend. Okay, it's me, a lizard. Wow, is he not an invisible wizard after all? You're an invisible lizard. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good joke. It would have been until it ruined it by not being a lizard. You're an amphibian. Detective, are you gonna tell everyone? I'm brand new, and it was a mistake. I worried that if you tell everyone what I did, they'll be upset. I think they forgive you right away. But what if they don't? I want to make a good first impression. Such a tense, serious situation. Look at all the pies you've stolen. When we go outside, can you please tell them that it was evil guy? But that's a fib! A white lie, perhaps. But who is it harming, really? Evil guy! Evil guy isn't real. This is a moral dilemma, Lola. Just like in my favorite episode of Poirot. No, Paroy. It's your choice, detective. Let's face the music. Oh no, I have to make a choice? Oh no, it's a serious moral choice. Lost the glasses, totally the crime, no real motive, but still the culprit. Shy lady, a rogue, just moved in, made a big mistake. Lied about having a nemesis called Evil Guy. Once we decided at the time it was Evil Guy. Oh no, what should I do? You know what, Lola? It was Evil Guy. It was totally just Evil Guy. Hello. Hi. My name's Lola. Hi, Lola. I'm a frog. Just like me. We're so glad you can make it, Lola. I'm sorry there's been so much commotion trying to get the parade ready for you. Somebody destroyed it last night. Mary, don't tell her that. We're sorry that somebody destroyed it, Lola. The detective has been trying to figure out who did it. Well, detective, have you solved the mystery? I hope it wasn't me. I'd be surprised if it was any of us. I wouldn't. Looking at you, Ralph. What? Ralph didn't do it, Victor. How many times do I have to tell you? I just don't trust that guy. Rude. I'm not rude anymore, Ralph. I had food. I don't think that's how it works. Still rude, even after the food. Unbelievable. There's no progress to that quest. I come to believe that maybe people can't change. I didn't do it. Well, I guess we'll find out in a moment. Nobody told me this game was grounded in reality and full of real world problems. Oh, I forgot about that. What a game. Go ahead, detective. Oh my god, no. What do I choose? This is a moral dilemma. The detective would never have said an evil guy did it. Or would he? Maybe he would. Poor evil guy. You can't frame evil guy. Lola did it. They'll forgive you, Lola. It's no problem. Well, I solved the mystery. Who was it? It was Lola. What? It was an accident. Lola dropped the glasses last night while picking up some shoes she bought on Whizbay. Oh my gosh, those are the ones I really wanted. They look amazing. Lola can't see without the glasses, so she had a lot of trouble getting home last night. She bumped into just about everything. I'm so sorry, I feel awful. I realized what had happened when I had lots of chips stuck to me. Because she's a sticky frog. I ate them, they were delicious. The parade was for me all along and I didn't realize. Lola was very scared of your reaction, so she hid in the house out of shame. Oh Lola, it's okay. You should have told us. We completely understand. Yeah, it makes sense. Everyone gets stuff happens. Don't worry about it. Yeah, Mary destroys stuff all the time. Yeah, I really do. She extorts people all the time too. Plus, Noddy tried to vacuum you up, so I feel like the parade being destroyed is kind of fine. I thought she was a ghost. That's what they all say. Heh. We're all really excited you're here, Lola. We don't need decorations anyway. I really thought Ralph did it. Victor, I apologize to Ralph. Ralph, I'm sorry I accused you. It's okay. See, they're so forgiving here. Evil guy gets away with it. Bad end. This is just setting up for Frog Detective 3 now, when I let evil guy get away with it. I'm also sorry. I really didn't mean to destroy the parade, but I should have spoken up when I did. I'm a very nervous lady. Plus, what a terrible first impression. Not as bad as my first impression. Barney, how are you here? How did this happen? What did you do? I ran over Mary by accident. Yeah, ran me over. That was really painful. That is pretty bad, Barney. Should we get this party started? What do you think, Lola? Yes, please. Rogue Detective 3's case apparently is corruption at Cowboy County. Yeah, partner. That's That sounds really good. Oh yeah, that's the band right there. What was the name again? It was like guys in a salon or something. We found a way to wear a hat. That's incredible. Look at all these outlaws. They're riding the minecarts. That was not allowed. The sign said not to. Maybe we made some change here, you know? Maybe the mayor, looking at you know, the needs for public transportation, so that maybe it's not good to outlaw minecarts when you could have parades of them. Also, this is my kind of parade where everyone gets a train. That's always what I wanted. Parades where people just walk around, that's the worst. It's a series finale? Oh my god, I'm so excited. I do follow the developer Grace Broxnell on Twitter. Oh, I got an achievement! You can tell down there, yeah, you can see it now, because my webcam isn't there. Yeah, I do follow her on Twitter, and I have seen that she's been working on that game forever now, so I'm a little bit excited for it. Especially now that I play this. Who knew that I was such a big frog head, you know? The grand story of Frog Detective is finally coming to a close. And we've been waiting for so long. It's getting heated up here now. Oh yeah, that's Larry, the regular sized lobster. Amazing. We really did it. Frog Detective, crowdsourcing agency. Frog Detective speaking. How may I solve your mystery? Detective. Supervisor. It's me, the supervisor. I am aware. Great job on solving the invisible wizard mystery. That was quite a head scratcher. Sure was. I was shocked that the culprit was a wizard herself. Yeah, the mysteries I solve are never what they seem. It's always a misunderstanding or an accident. Nobody's ever malicious on purpose in my mysteries. I'm so glad that crime isn't real. Didn't you get extorted earlier? Yes. I think that's a crime. I suppose that crime is real, after all. Your office is called Frog Detective Crowdsourcing Agency. Yes. Detective, why do you believe that crime isn't real? I was simply exaggerating. Plus, despite my job title, I never really seem to be solving crimes. That's going to change in a moment, I think, Detective. Ooh, super duper. Let's got a call about a doozy of a case, Detective. That sounds exciting. It is. But it's also the most challenging case I've never sent you on. I'm confident in your abilities, but you might need a backup on this one. Or like you. I'm going to send Lobster Cop to help you with this case. No way. Really? Lobster Cop handles such advanced cases. Want to slow him down? Nonsense, Detective. You're showing you're a very capable mystery solver. I think you're in the running to be the new #1. You're making me blush. You'll be A-okay. So where am I headed next? I can't say on the phone. It's too sensitive. Wow. Head to the train station. I'll left a ticket for you, bruh. The train will take you to where you need to be. Good luck, Detective. Do you think you can handle it? You'll have to tell me what the case is first. I can handle anything, though. Saying the wrong O sound is a solid gimmick. I'm a big fan. It just feels right. Are they going to surpass Lobster Cop and Criminal Rifle players as the best mystery solver? Yes. And it'll be self-evident when we figure out that Lobster Cop was not a Lobster Cop at all in the cowboy mystery. He'll be a lobster sheriff, and he'll be the perpetrator. And we'll have to replace him. What are those hands? What are those hands? No! Those are weird. Skeletal hand. With like nubbins on the end of them. I can't believe I took my notebook like that. That's messed up. Take it. What if it was actually lobster mobster? Ah, that makes so much sense because it rhymes. Worm. I guess it's the one station? There's no name for the station. Detective will return in Cowboy County. Corruption at Cowboy County. Oi? Wonderful. That sounds like a very good time. I'm looking forward to it. I guess that's the end. Oh, wow, that is the end. Did it solve the crime? Oh, the misunderstanding. Because crime isn't real. Jail isn't real either, as we previously found out in the law. Lord knows why we got this job title, if neither jail or crime is real. But we still do a very valuable service, I'm sure. I mean, we're rogue detective. Everyone needs us. That was sweet. I like this game. It's really chill. The puzzles are really easy, but it's just like a fun time. And I don't know, just NPCs are really charming. Everyone's really cute. It's a good time. Yeah, it's nice to do something that really matters now and then. Solving fake crimes. Being extorted. That's what I live for. That's what keeps me climbing out of bed every day. Solving these fake crimes. Doing dance parties in contrived circumstances. That's the dream. Yes, we'll have to wait now though, until Rogue Detective 3, until we can solve more fake crimes. And Lord knows we're not gonna come out. I think it's been delayed a few times. I think this game has been out for a while now, right? I think the film was supposed to be released this year, but might have been delayed into next year now. Yeah, 2022 apparently, but yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah, if it's just 2022 and we're in September, oh, exactly, yeah, if I don't see a month, or like a quarter, I'm like, oh. Especially if I just see the quarter and I'm in that quarter as well. I think the most on the sign is if it just says a year and it's like end of the year already. It's like, no way that's coming out. So we'll probably have to wait a year until we get to see Rogue Detective return and Corruption in Cowboy County. It's a great title and a great name for a place. I'm looking forward to it. It's nice playing these adventure games on stream. I like it. I should do some more. I think some puzzle games, like adventure games with more puzzles would be quite fun. I think it's quite nice to like solve puzzle stuff like with chats. I think it's really fun. Weekly adventure gaming, yeah. That could be the plan. Let's see. I'm just I wanna see if Frog Detective already has a Steam page. It does. Yeah, but it just says it's 2022. They do show some of the characters though, and they look very fun. I love the mouse creature with the fishnet stockings. That's a good character right there. Or is it a bat? It might be a bat. That'd be a good time. I got an hour left of the stream, but I haven't like prepared another game to play. Sam & Max is very vibe, so it does have some vestiges of adventure game bullshit. Yeah, I think adventure game bullshit could be fun. I don't think I mind it. I think nowadays like adventure game bullshit is like kind of sold by being able to just look things up, right? Like I think most adventure games nowadays have like resources where you can just look for hints and stuff without being too spoilers for. I think just being able to look up things that are like too archaic and like too esoteric is a good way to solve that sort of problem. I think some of that could be fun. There's also like tons of like cool looking indie adventure games out there. Like there was one about like a wizarding society recently, right? That looked really cool. I saw some people play it and it was quite intriguing. What was that called? Oh yeah, fuck, we played Grim Fandango and that had like some really crazy like adventure game solutions, yeah, like some some real bullshit, yeah. Oofa. Yeah. So I think I'm totally fine with like some dumb stuff. If you can play Grim Fandango, we can play Sam & Max. That'll be fine. I think Telltale is really fun, yeah. I think there's lots of Telltale stuff out there, which could be a good time as well. Yeah, we did one of them at some point. We did Borderlands, and that worked alright. I thought that was quite fun. So yeah, but Telltale would that would be pretty cool. Although I don't know like specifically what Telltale game to play right now, but I guess they have like some Walking Dead stuff. They have like some like Batman stuff, don't they? That's like stuff I haven't played yet. Might have some other stuff too, but I kind of forget all the things that they did. They did so much. Yeah, I played a bit of Walking Dead. I just thought they said they did an Among Us. Then I saw Wolf Among Us. I was like, wait, Telltale did an Among Us game? Really? I was like, no way, how is that possible? How'd they do that? The Wolf Among Us. Yeah, that'd be sick. That's what I'll be cheering for when Telltale comes back. I'm just gonna show up at the doorstep demanding. I'm gonna extort them until they make Among Us Telltale games or some Fortnite. Preferably a combination of the two. Kentucky Route Zero is the whole thing too. Very conceptual game. I heard about that one. It's got a very recognizable title, I think. But I don't actually know what it is. Oh yeah, this one looks kind of familiar, but yeah. Wait, 2013? Oh, it's older than I thought. Yeah, I heard about this one. And it looks kind of cool. Very interesting. But yeah, I think stuff like this would work quite well, I think. Yeah, Thimbleweed Park, another one. Yeah, that's Ron Gilbert's thing. Yeah. I mean, I remember when that came out, and I didn't play it, but I was intending to. Conductor Rat Zero is extremely episodic, like across years. I see, okay. So it started in 2013, but it might have been going for much longer than that. Gotcha. But yeah, there's like tons of stuff, and that's what I think kind of sounds like exciting about doing more adventure games, is that there's like a massive library of stuff. And I'm getting really into playing like more chill games on stream now. I think they're really fun. And I think adventure games really like fit that sort of vibe, you know? So I feel like there's like a ton of stuff out there for me to play. And I think that'd be a great plan forward. I'm thinking I might just end the stream early. Because we just got like about half an hour left really of stream time for me. But I don't really have like a game I planned on playing, and I feel like whenever I play a game I hadn't planned to play, it always ends in a disaster. So I think it's just good to end it here. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's a good plan. I'll try to do another stream this week though. I've been doing just one stream a week now, but I can make up for this short stream by having at least one more stream this week. We'll see. I might be doing some renovation in the weekend, so we'll see. But I think that'll do it for tonight. I could use a break here as well, actually. I think it's a good time for me. Yeah. Thank you all for coming for the stream for Frog Detector 2. That was a good time. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll find another game for next stream, I guess. I think we might just play like Ooblets or something next stream. Ooblets or like Power Washer Simulator. I think that's the plan. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for hanging out. Hope you have a lovely evening. I hope to see you next time. Cheers. Take it easy. Good night. Bye. Bye. Take it easy. Where's my thingy? There's my thingy. Bye.